we go, Henry V.
The reviews are in. That's some nice merch. Get your brand new character pin, limited time face mask,
buy his stuff,
more.
guys. Buy
Link
his stuff.
down below.
Also buy my merch. Actually, there's nothing left.
Sigmund, I don't have much longer. Tell me, was I a good king? You were okay. Will I be remembered as the great warrior king who invaded France, revolutionized English healthcare, and developed great parklands?
Name a king that's... Name any king in history that's known as a warrior king. Who's rank 1? Henry Who was the guy at Agincourt? This guy went down in history as a fucking god of war. Henry V. Yeah, Henry V was sick. Karl the Great was sick. Lionheart was sick. Leonidas was kind of sick, man. But yeah, Richard the Fifth. Henry V. He just got his own movie on Netflix last year.
Probably not. Because of the wife killings. Because of the wife killings. Sigmund, how did I get here? I still remember the good old days when I was a boy with a heart full of fire. And Mummy,
I sometimes feel like when I'm older, I'm gonna look like Henry VIII.
Okay, Henry, this is a horse. Can you say horse? Divorce. What? No. Okay, let's try this one. Can you say...
How many wives did he have? Like 8?
Bread. Loaf with her head. No, Henry, that's wrong. You know what? Last one. Okay. Can you say soap?
Turn on BTTV. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is.
Yes, that's it. I'm the supreme head of the church. Screw the Pope. You know what? You're my son and I love you. But you're freaking weird, man.
All the gingers are like this.
The year is 1491.
Hey YouTube people, what's up? Yes, I'm a streamer on Twitch. Yeah, it's crazy. That's how this whole thing is made. But you don't even... Most of you fuckers don't even know I'm on Twitch. Chat, tell these YouTube scum what you think of them. Twitch chat, tell YouTube normies what you think. Tell them. That's what they think of you. These are the real boys. This is the Twitch boys, man. They watch the real shit live while you're watching on demand. That's the real boys.
England has just come out of 3
1491, I was so
Civil
wrong.
War, in which a bunch of Henrys, Edwards, and one rich...
War of the Roses, isn't that where EU4 starts or some shit? Henry V, that's the guy. That guy is a fucking alpha. You can't see him because the chat is over it.
Had a little ding-dong
Henry
over which
V was a
house
fucking
should rule
god,
the
man.
realm. Finally, a Henry I, Henry VII, and he had a son. What should we name him? My royal lineage is full of Henrys. A fine name, a vigorous name, a tenacious name, a muscular name. How about Arthur? And so Arthur, Prince of Wales and next in line to the throne, was born. 5 years later, Prince Henry was born. But no,
he was second in line.
He's not the heir, just a spare. The king wanted to make an...
Deep inside, I want to actually play EU4. Dude, the American campaign will come soon, even though the American campaign is not going to be so good. I don't know, we will see. But I'm feeling a bit of... So once in a while, playing EU4 and just colonizing is so much fun. Just colonizing, bro. It's so much fun.
So one day, he said to his...
I mean, I have to make an announcement. When we play Mega Campaign EU4, I will play a Germany that takes America, and then in Victoria 2, I will switch to the German America. What if the United States of America was made by Germans and it wouldn't be English? That will be the Mega Campaign. I will actually leave Germany and play the guys in the US. And then in Hoi 4, I will be a German North America.
His son Arthur.
I think that's a cool idea, man.
You see that lady, baby? That's gonna be your wife. But father, I'm not even 3 years old yet. Listen, there's something you have to understand. You're my son. But more than that, you're a political bargaining
Sorry.
But you love me, right? I love you as a political bargaining tool. Yay. Hey, Pop, who the heck are you? I've written you a poem. Listen here, tiny man. Can't you see that I'm busy? But I'm your son. I have another son? As Arthur was in another palace, being prepped to become king, Henry lived with his mother and 2 sisters at Eltham, where he was being trained for a church career. And not just that, Henry learnt languages. He played sports. He learnt the recorder. What a nerd. Am I right? Wrong. Henry was the coolest kid around. So I told my Latin
guy must have
teacher
had so much sex, man.
my buddiest.
Anyway, so he was an alpha
here's
chat?
Wonderwall. Great scholars and theologians
You
from
need
across
Madrid,
Europe
London,
came to
Constantinople
meet
to form
and teach
Germany.
the young Prince Henry, who by all accounts was a
you need a
very
brain
enlightened,
to-
bright and charming young boy. Everybody loved
brain.
Henry. And out of everything Henry was taught, more than anything, he came to adore and respect theology and Catholicism.
Oh.
One of Henry's tutors was English poet laureate John Skelton, who wrote a textbook for Henry that we still have today. In it, he wrote a number of important lessons for the young prince, such as, do not be mean, loathe gluttony, and do not violate
Well,
widows.
that totally
Important
went
lessons
well.
for any 9-year-old boy. Around this time, Henry's
That went
older
great.
brother Arthur, now 15 years old, was married to Catherine of Aragon, sealing the union between England and Spain. And then he died.
Oh.
Oh, my alliance
K2
with
man.
Spain, my poor, poor alliance with Spain.
Well, just give him
And
the
your
second son.
sire? Oh, yes, of course, my son. But mostly my alliance with Spain. Hey, Pop, who the heck are you? Oh, yeah! And just like that,
Yeah, marry
an
him.
unprepared Prince Henry was now the new heir to the throne. And how about that alliance with Spain? Well, the solution was simple. Hey, boy, see that full-grown woman over there? That's
Oh, that
gonna
must
be
be
your
so
wife.
weird, man.
What, my brother's
You're a
widow?
fucking kid,
Yes.
man, and then you have like
You're a
this
freaking
old
weirdo,
woman.
man. Now, in the Bible, there's a
mean,
verse that
probably not
says
that old,
marrying
but-
your brother's widow, that's a big no-no. So
Oh.
the king needed to convince the Pope and get his special permission. Hey, can I please have my son marry
The
his brother's
church
widow?
and money, baby.
Sure.
Hey, we all believe in Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, but if I get a little bit of money and a little bit of that young boy, man, then Jesus,
Why not?
Go away,
And
man.
So it
I gotta
was.
pay for a
Henry's
fucking
life was turned
$10,000
on its head
bath
as
tub,
he was
Jesus.
moved to the royal court,
Sorry.
next in line to the
You
throne.
see my feelings
But
on
tragedy struck when
Catholic
just a
Church.
few months later, his mother, with whom he was very close, suddenly died in childbirth. The loss of his mother almost certainly had a big effect on the young boy.
Oh.
In his older years, King Henry VII went on a bit of a paranoid trip. As was normal for a king at the time, Henry VII had to quell a number of rebellions, and as he aged, he became ever more suspicious of
Being
the
a fucking
nobility
king
around
must be
him.
so
To keep
stressful
them in
back in the
check,
day.
he began levying huge, ruinous fines, left, right, and center. Dukes, bishops, barons, even his own mother. No one was safe from his tyranny, and the nobility of England began to suffer. So when Henry VII finally got sick and died just after Christmas 1508,
How
there
old
was
was
a
he?
lot of celebration. Not only because the tyrannical Henry VII was gone, but because
I often have this weird fantasy feeling, which I think a lot of you guys share. What will it be like to be a medieval king? Imagine, in many years there's a simulation, like you go into the Matrix, and you are spawning in as a 15-year-old male, and you're king of England, and you have your current knowledge, your right now knowledge. That would be so interesting. So interesting. What does that feel like, man? What do you do? How is it? How do you be a good king, right? And in the end of the simulation, like you live the whole life like that fucking Rick and Morty thing. Then you die one day, right? You die, and you come out of the simulation. Oh shit! And then you have the statistics, like you were a shit king, you were a good king. Very interesting. You will die of the flu every week. Very interesting, man. Like everybody thinks they will be good and kind and stuff, but I think a lot of you fucks will go for a lot of pussy and die by syphilis, bro.
because his replacement was the ever-popular, charming, and handsome 18-year-old King Henry VIII.
He was handsome.
Henry married Catherine of Aragon.
Is there a young picture of him? Sorry, man. This guy never shows pictures. Henry VIII young. Well, I guess it was handsome back in the day. I guess. I mean, English handsome, which is like a 5 in continental Europe. You know?
In June 1509, you may be wondering, if it's so weird to marry your brother's widow, and since he's now king, couldn't Henry just decide not to? Well, yes, he could, but by now, Henry wanted to. The thing about Henry that was unlike many kings of the time was he married for love, and he'd grown quite fond of Catherine, very fond. Historians say their marriage was unusually good, and so he was coronated
Unusually
king,
good.
and what a king. Compared to his tyrannical father, he was an absolute joy. Having the blood of 2 royal houses, he was
dethroned in
widely
2 weeks.
supported. He was really, really ridiculously good.
You have been in the brothel for 2 weeks, sir. There's some important business. Oh, fuck off, bro.
Good looking, and those
Have you guys invented weed yet?
famous calves could achieve world peace. Hey Henry, now that you're king,
Thank you.
you
Own
know
the
what that means.
produce.
Cheese.
Costume party! Henry pranced around the palace playing dress up with his friends. He wrote plays. He sang songs.
Must be so
he
fun, man.
danced.
Seeing how they they lived and had
true
fun.
Renaissance man, very different from the gluttonous wife killer we think of today. In his early reign, people from near and far would come to ask favors of the generous king. Hey man, could I gain ownership of some land near Upton Snodsbury? Sure thing, pal. Hey, could I be an earl or
That's
a
how you
baron
die
or
in
a
CK Free,
viscount
man.
or something?
That's how you get these
Anything you
fucking
want,
rebellions.
man. Could I get just a really cool pig that has like freaking metal wings and 8 legs and shoots flippin' lasers and it can grow more pigs out of it for extra pigs? Say no more. Hey, guys, I was just checking up on the financial report and what the hell? We can't afford this.
That is
Henry's
very
council that
CK3.
he inherited from his father weren't happy with all the money he was just throwing around, and they worked hard to curb the king's spending. Since they controlled the royal seals needed to get stuff done, at first they were largely able to control the young king. And for Henry, the most infuriating things of all was they wouldn't let him joust with his friends because it was too dangerous, nor would they let him do the thing he wanted most, to go on a...
And that's the thing, like we just talked about being in a fantasy, being king yourself. Your council, these old men, would always be, don't do this, don't do that. I think that's where you have to be hardcore, where you have to be, listen, old man, shut the fuck up or I take your fucking head, man.
Glorious,
I think that's where you have to be Chad.
Conquest against England's historic enemy, France. Please, guys, I'll keep it cheap. How? I'm glad you asked. I've got...
Because if they realize they have you in their
promo
hands,
code
you're over, man.
For the financial burden of war? Yes. Honey is the free browser extension that automatically finds promo codes.
This finds
when you shop
promo, yeah, this is
online.
actually really
Imagine
good.
you're on one of your favorite websites.
Like you're buying something on a website and this app gets you promo code to save money.
And you want
Actually,
to reinvent yourself with some
not
fresh
bad
new
shit.
threads.
What the fuck?
Oh, hi, little dancing
What is
man.
that Zoomer
Got
clothing?
any
Did you
sick
see that?
promo codes for me? You do?
Jeez.
Nice. You just saved $40
Actually, really
on your
good.
online shop. You rockstar. Honey supports
These
over
codes never work,
30,000
though?
online stores and has
I
already
don't know,
helped
I don't know, man. I don't
Oversimplified
use this.
viewers
Domino's?
save over $87,000.
There's codes for
That's a lot of
Domino's?
moolah. Not having Honey is literally saying no to free money like a
What?
crazy person. It's free, finds coupons with one click, and it's now part of the Venmo and PayPal family. So you know it's legit.
Oh, so it's leggy as fuck?
At joinhoney.com/oversimplified.
PayPal, man. Every time I'm on
That's
PayPal, it takes 20 minutes to click something.
joinhoney.com/oversimplified. And
you,
you'll
the
also
Goonies,
be
man.
supporting my channel. So thank you.
It helped
Now,
me love the
where
online
were we?
orders. There you go. It
Oh, yeah.
actually works.
Sexy
There you go.
calves, excessive spending, and war with France. Henry wanted
Every single England video ever is War of Friends.
glory. He wanted to go down in history. If he didn't go to war in France, was he even the king of England? Man, I want to go to war so bad, but the council won't let me. Hey, maybe I can help with that. Whoa, it's Cardinal Wolsey, one of my best friends despite being an old-ass man.
Can you guys explain to me, because you guys are always so educated in history, why are these English kings always going for France? Why isn't he going north to take down Scotland or Ireland to unite Great Britain? They always France, France, France. Isn't Scotland easier? Because they're French, and French is like the lethal enemy. Also the French girls. And I'm like, okay, you win.
Cardinal Wolsey
Okay.
knew that if he helped
Scotland
King
is just
Henry,
poor.
there'd likely be something in it for him. So what was
Wasn't
his
worth the
great,
glory. Okay, makes
intricate
sense.
plan to curb the council's power? You're the king, dum-dum.
So about
you can
toxic
do whatever
masculinity.
you want. What? Wolsey began writing bills that simply didn't require the seals, and thus
What?
Henry was back on top.
Oh, shit.
For his efforts, Wolsey began to climb the ranks, and he became something of a yes man for King Henry, encouraging Henry to frolic and play while Wolsey took care of business.
No, not good.
Hey, kid, you want to go on an adventure? Do I ever? The Pope was at war with France, and he needed some help.
The Pope was at war. What is that war? You guys know the name of this. Man, I can't. I don't know what's going on. This is probably EU4. I never played EU4. What is this war called? Holy Roman Empire, Spain, the Pope against France. The Papal War. Italian Wars, Anti-Papal War.
Offered the young
Italian Wars. Everybody has a
impressionable
different
King
fucking
Henry
name for the
100
war. I love
Parmesan
this,
cheeses,
man.
some wine, and a golden rose if he came to the Pope's aid, and Henry was all in. At this point in his life,
Crusade?
he still respected the church and
There was a
loved the
crusade on
Pope.
France?
And here was the chance for war he had been waiting for. He still didn't have an heir, a fairly big problem for a monarch at the time. But right now, the only kind of smashing he was
There
interested in
wasn't.
was smashing French guys in the face. And so off he went. The English already held the French city of Calais. From there, Henry made a glorious victory at the Battle of the Spurs. He took the French cities of Terouanne and Tournai. Word of his victories spread. This was it. Here was the glory he...
What I always think is so interesting about these videos, if we looked at Napoleon and French Revolution, France was such a superpower. Many times these videos show that all of Europe is fighting France. Like France was the Hitler back in the day. Everybody was attacking them and they just
had been waiting
didn't
for.
die, bro.
Back home, his
you guys used to be
beautiful
fucking
wife also
epic
led
until
armies
that
to
Ardennes
victory in
thing happened.
Scotland. And better yet, she was pregnant. Soon, Henry would have an heir.
Pregnant warrior
All of
queen.
Henry's wildest dreams were coming true. Oh, he ran out of money. As the French prepared to invade Italy, all Henry could do was go home.
Good job.
Well, at least now I have an heir to cheer me up. Bring me my son. Henry, this is Mary. Mary? That's a funny name for a boy.
Shit, it's a
Henry,
girl.
it's a girl.
Imagine they could have chosen
This
their
was
own gender back
Catherine's
then.
fifth pregnancy
Infinite
that had
heirs.
not resulted in a male heir. Happy Henry wasn't so happy
France was the
anymore.
China of Europe
You
in
still
population.
haven't given me a male heir. Well, how do you know it's my problem? Maybe it's your problem, Henry. It couldn't be my problem because I've been boinking half your maid staff and one of them gave me a boy. I mean, sure. Yeah, you know what?
Hitler found
Maybe
the
it's my
exploit.
problem. I'll look into that. Cardinal Wolsey, now Henry's Lord Chancellor, knew his job depended on keeping Henry happy. And so he said, well, if you can't be the great warrior, then how about the great peacemaker? Not as cool, but okay. And so the Field of the Cloth of Gold, a glamorous peace summit between England and France, was held. The King of France, Francis I, was essentially the French version of King Henry. And the whole thing was basically one giant codpiece measuring contest. The two sides did agree to a peace treaty. However, it didn't last long. You see, there was a third major player in European politics at the time, an exquisite
That's the thing though, that's what the fuck? If you go back into this king fantasy, I think I will try to be a builder. Like in CK3, I wouldn't go around fucking killing everyone. I will try to be a builder, make reforms, make law codes. Boring though, right? Doesn't give you glory.
specimen
That's
of
a
royal
Habsburg?
inbreeding, an heir to a huge inheritance, and a chin that could hit a home run. Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. He was Henry's wife's nephew. Henry had helped him out in the past to put down a Spanish rebellion, and now the two wanted to make an alliance, and so a marriage was arranged. Mary, I'd like to introduce you to your 22-year-old fully grown adult cousin, and now your future husband. Ew, he looks inbred. Mary! We're all inbred. With their new alliance, Charles and Henry agreed to team up and
He would be a
relaunch a campaign
technocratic
against
king,
France.
yeah.
In 1522, the English landed and stormed his
Like
walls.
Alfred from Vikings. Alfred, who did a lot of reforms. He told all the monks in England in the year 900 or some shit, I don't know, to start translating biblic stuff into English and not Latin, so normal people could read that stuff.
South as Agincourt, but
Something like
Charles
that.
didn't commit significant forces. Whoops, sorry man, not sure what happened. I'll join in next year. The next year, England swept northern France, almost taking Paris. But once again, where was Charles? Oh man, I'm so sorry. I promise, next year, I'll be there.
This
The
could
next
be
year
me, bro.
came, and
This
a
could be
fed-up
me.
Henry decided he was gonna sit this one out. And just as Charles ravaged the French at the Battle of Pavia and captured the French king. Holy crap,
He
dude.
captured
yeah,
the king?
I totally kicked France's
Jeez,
butt.
man, that's a 100%
great.
win
So,
in
can I have the
CK.
French throne like we agreed? No. What? And also, I don't want to marry your ugly daughter anymore. Ugly? Have you seen your chin? Mummy says it's a strong chin for a strong boy. As Henry's alliance with Charles fell apart,
Fucking
Henry
hell.
knew his days as a warrior were over. This was a problem for Henry. but it
Imagine
was a
dying in
bigger
these wars?
problem
Yeah,
for
you
his
died for
wife.
nothing, man.
Catherine
No
of
one
Aragon
remembers your
had
name in the
two jobs.
history.
The first was to give Henry a male heir, but the second was to maintain an alliance with her relatives in Spain, including her nephew. She had failed, and Henry's sexy eyes began to wander. Home from all his wars, Henry ate up his daily 5,000 calories of meat as an infatuation began to grow for one of his wife's ladies in waiting, Anne Boleyn. Beautiful, intelligent, cultured. She was exactly Henry's type. Now, Henry had had dozens of
Son,
mistresses,
get fat, bro.
including Anne's sister. But Anne didn't want to just be Henry's side chick. She wanted to be his queen. Henry sent dozens of letters, thirsty love poems. In one, he proclaimed that he would like to kiss her pretty duckies. Henry
Are these letters still in the museum or something? Henry VIII letters. Can you still see them in real life? Dude, they exist? Holy shit. I'm a sucker for historical shit, man. Dude, how do they still have them, bro? Dude, we have to give a big shout out to human beings that saved all this stuff, right? Imagine we didn't have historians, man. Imagine we wouldn't have all this shit. I want to see the real letter, man. Oh, fuck this website. Trash website, man. Fuck off. Where is this stuff? In what museum is that? I think that's so cool. Primary sources. Letters written by the 6 wives of Henry. And the website isn't loading. There you go. Sources. Letters of the Queens of England. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. But man, they still exist.
were on fire.
watch the film.
But Anne kept him at just the right distance to drive him crazy and push him to find a way to get rid of his current wife.
Oh man,
Wolsey,
she's
I want to divorce.
making him thirsty.
And as the representative of the Pope here in England, I expect you to sort it out quickly and quietly. I don't want this to turn into a Europe-wide scandal. You got it, Your Majesty. Hey, Big Papa! My boy Henry says he wants to divorce his wife. Any chance? To Henry's shock and horror, Wolsey deferred the case back to the Pope in Rome. To make matters worse, after all the wars in Europe, the Pope was currently under the thumb of Charles V. Now everybody knew what was going on, and Henry's divorce trial had become a pawn of greater European politics. For Wolsey, the decision was a disaster. His job was to keep Henry happy, and Henry was very, very unhappy. Nevertheless, the divorce trial began. Henry's case rested upon the Bible verse in Leviticus that claimed marrying your brother's widow would lead to childlessness, and Henry was certainly having a hard time getting a male heir. He argued that the Pope had got it wrong when he allowed Henry to marry his brother's widow, and that now divorce was the only solution. However, the Pope and Charles V acquired some interesting letters from an unknown source. He wants to kiss her pretty duckies? Man, this guy's loins are on fire. The Pope now knew the case for divorce may not actually be found in Henry's Bible, but in Henry's pants. After escaping Charles V, the Pope did send out one Cardinal Campeggio to oversee the trial. Campeggio was an old man racked with gout. It took him 6 painful months to travel from Rome to England.
6 months,
and when
bro.
he finally got there, this kept
Is he working for CJ Project?
Hey, I need you to take a look at this evidence. I can't. My gout is acting up. Hey, are you ready to take my testimony? I can't. My gout is acting up. Hey, can you please make a decision? I can't. Your gout is acting up. My gout is acting up. Anne Boleyn, with her Protestant views in support of the Reformation, suspected the Pope was just delaying. For 2 whole years, the trial dragged on and on.
2
and in
years.
the end, the Pope simply said, no. No divorce for you.
Man, they played Henry.
The king that had previously defended the Pope militarily from France and intellectually from the reformist ideas of Martin Luther, who had once respected the Pope above all, now found the Pope standing between him and 4th base. Your Majesty, what will you do? I'm the king, dum-dum. I can do whatever I want. What? For his failure, Henry removed Wolsey from the court, a decision that was likely influenced by Anne Boleyn, who disliked the cardinal. Having fallen from grace and with potential charges of treason over his head, Wolsey died of illness a year later. Then Henry set about removing England from the influence of the Pope. Hey, if you do that, I'll excommunicate you. Who cares, man? Oh no, apathy. My weakness. Henry gathered theologians and scholars together to help him make his case against the Pope. Together, they argued
This is like playing CK, man.
The Pope's rule over the church was basically a takeover of what had once been a self-governing, national English church. And if that sounds familiar, some historians do believe this moment may have laid the foundations for English Euroscepticism. That's right.
I was thinking that
may have been influenced by Henry's explosive loins.
His penis might have been the reason, or the butterfly effect first wing hit, that they became more Protestant.
People gave Henry their support.
It makes so much sense in the human race, right?
For a rough time.
That's the human race, bro. Someone's dick did all this.
Supreme head of the English
it's like someone eating a fucking bat and I can't go out to the fucking shopping mall.
Church. And his next divorce trial was a foregone conclusion. Catherine of Aragon was Aragon, and Anne Boleyn was in. All right,
what a chat, man.
The entire
so far, I like
to
this
be
guy.
With you, so you'd better give me a son, okay? Now, did you get my letter about the duckies? Having finally married the girl of his dreams, it was party time for Henry. And what a party. Life in the Tudor court was non-stop. Huge banquets, with each person eating on average 5,000 calories a day. And no vegetables. Those are for poor people. Rich people ate meat. And so you know what else is for rich people? Constipation. But don't let that stop the party. The toilets are communal. And Henry himself was the center of everything. He ate the best food. He had 1,200 pairs of shoes. He didn't.
1,200 shoes?
Life was great.
Jesus.
Everyone, I give you your majesty,
Dude.
King Henry VIII. But how did they pay for it all? Well, influenced by his fairly Protestant new wife, since Henry had overturned the organization of the church, this is how they paid for it. Oh my goodness, how awful. Selling fake fragments of the cross? Vials of Jesus' blood that you got from a duck? Using religion in this way? This is terrible. I must confiscate all this money at once. Yes, how awful. I must take all of this away.
Fucking clever, man.
Monasteries are...
Man, these fucking... I think about this so often. I never knew much about religion, and just last year, and this year on Easter, because Lisa's family is religious a bit, they're Christians, they showed me a lot about Jesus and who Jesus was, and what really is Christianity, right? This year I learned a lot about this stuff. And since I know a bit more about Christianity, I feel so much more how hypocritical Christians are these days, especially the church itself. Dude, imagine Jesus and God are real, they must just facepalm all day. all these, the Catholic Church, there's nothing Jesus about them. Nothing, bro. How can you read about Jesus and then go to the Pope, man? I never get that stuff. I'm not very educated in this, but they talk about being humble and stuff, and then you go into a Catholic Church and everything is gold, man, and money. They're literally everything Jesus did not want.
And their riches placed in
That's
the
the biggest scheme in the world, bro.
Many people weren't too happy about this, but Henry had
the biggest mafia ever
as well. Henry's descent into tyranny
Republican
had begun,
dog.
as any who rejected his new claim as supreme head of the English Church found their heads on the chopping block. And so Henry partied. He danced. He sang. He ate.
I mean, as a Catholic, you must wake up one day and be like, man, I'm a fucking dumb fuck.
Be me. Love gluttony. Violate widows.
Oh, shit. That was the reason for the Reformation. Good thing, man. Martin Luther, who was born literally an hour away from here, man. Man, that was a good lad.
A jousting accident. Not for the first time, but certainly the heaviest fall he had taken yet. Some historians believe the brain damage caused by the incident may have violently accelerated Henry's descent into tyranny. Executions in England ramped up.
Someone already have this many Christians one on time. Cultural stuff.
72,000 people were put to death.
Your parents were Christians, so you're Christian too. You don't even fucking question this shit, man.
Rich or poor, big or small, no one
Same
was
with every
safe.
religion, man.
And the most prominent victim of all was to be Henry's own wife. It had been 3 years since their marriage. Anne had been pregnant 4 times, yet she had only been able to produce one healthy child, a girl.
Martin Luther also was a radical anti-Semite. Does anyone know or have sources why he was an anti-Semite? What were his arguments? Why would he think that? Probably because they killed Jesus or some shit.
What's more, it's possible she had been going around insulting Henry's manhood. Henry's eyes, once
the Reformation killed many people, though. Well,
his new top man, Thomas Cromwell, didn't
he
want
helped the world to understand how corrupt the Catholic Church is,
so
man.
he came up with a plan. There was a court musician who had been quite flirtatious in public with
Catholic
the Queen.
agents in the chat. Wait, the Pope is in the chat. Oh fuck, Martin Luther and anti-Semitism. Oh, that's a lot, man. Was a German professor, blah blah blah. He became outspokenly anti-Semitic in his statements and writings. Recent historical studies have focused on Luther's influence on modern anti-Semitism, particularly focused on Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Proceed with donation? Suck my dick, man. Is my money gone now? Luther's attitude towards the Jews changed over the course of his life. At the beginning of his career, it was influenced by Johann Reuchlin, who was the great uncle of his friend Philip Melanchthon. Luther relied on Reuchlin for answering questions about Hebrew and had used one of his Kabbalistic books to help his argument in a debate, blah 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 blah. Early years, anti-Jewish accusation. Luther successfully campaigned against the Jews in Saxony, Brandenburg, and Silesia. This is where I lived, man. In August 1536, Luther's prince, Elector of Saxony, Johann Friedrich, issued a mandate that prohibited Jews from inhabiting, engaging, Germans and Jews, huh? And Alsatian Shatladan, Rabbi Josel of Rossheim, asked a reformer Wolfgang Capio to approach Luther in order to obtain an audience with the prince, but Luther refused every intercession. In response to Josel, Luther referred to his unsuccessful attempts to convert the Jews. I will willingly do my best for you people, but I will not contribute to your Jewish obstinacy by my own kind actions. You must find another intermediary with a good Lord. That's not that bad yet. He just says, I can't fuck him out for you. Heiko Obermann notes this event as significant Luther's attitude towards Jews. Even today, his refusal is often judged to be decisively a turning point in Luther's career. Okay, anti-Jewish works. Luther's main work on the Jews were 35,000 words. These people had von Juden und ihren Lügen. Okay. That means the Jews and their lies. He wrote that? Und vom Shem Hephoras und vom Geschlecht Christi. Reprinted 5 times within his lifetime, both written in 1546, 3 years before his death. It is believed that Luther was influenced by Anton Margarita's book, Der ganze jüdische Glaube. This means the whole Jewish belief. Margarita, converted to Christianity, who had become Lutheran, published this anti-Semitic book in 1530, which was read by Luther in 1539. This is like a Hitler story, man. In 1539, Luther got his hands on the book and immediately fell in love with it. The materials provided in this book confirmed Luther that the Jews, in their blindness, wanted nothing to do with faith and justification through faith. So what did he write? What did Luther write? In 1546, Luther published on the Jews and their lies, which he says that the Jews are base, whoring people, that is, no people of God, and their boast of lineage, circumcision, and law must be accounted as filth. They are full of the devil's feces, blah, blah, blah. Does he have any arguments? The synagogue was defiled. Man, that's hardcore anti-Semitic. Jesus Christ, man. He argues that the synagogues and schools have to be set on fire. Dude, the Germans, man. The Germans, boy. He also seems to advocate their murder, writing we are at fault for not slaying them. Bro. Oh, dick guy. What the fuck, bro? Okay, man. I don't want to read everything. Holy shit, dude. Okay, Luther. That's so interesting because... Oh, it's actually really late, man. I actually have to stop, guys. It's almost done. I just want to say, my university is called Martin Luther University, and in 2020 it will make so much sense that some liberal young people would be like, hey, we have to rename this university. This guy was a hardcore Jew hater. You don't see that in Germany yet, though. Thank you, Dobina. I have to watch this now. I'm totally over time here on stream.
And the charges came rolling in. Listen, Anne.
Can you ban idiots in chat that talk shit right now?
You're gonna divorce me, aren't you? Just like your last wife.
You know who they are?
Oh, no. Come here. Shh. No. I'm not gonna divorce you. It's much worse than that. Anne was charged with adultery, perversion, even incest, and plotting to kill the king himself. The jury found her guilty, including her own uncle and ex-fiancé, both fearing the wrath of the king. And on May 19th, 1536, Anne Boleyn was Anne Boleyn. Literally the next day, Henry married one of Anne's ladies-in-waiting, Jane Seymour, his third wife.
If I was Jane, I'd be scared, man. I'd be very scared.
And since he still had no male
his
heir,
wife's her permanent boss music
to ensure the public knew he was as virile as it gets. He had this famous portrait painted of the manliest man I've ever seen, and later he would even have his physician make a declaration about his health. King Henry is a fine specimen of a man, and please don't make me say this. Say it.
His dick is big.
And every time I look at him, I wish I was a woman. The truth is, after his jousting accident, the king had badly injured his leg and was no longer very active, yet he was still eating his daily 5,000 calories. So by now, Henry was extremely unhealthy. For the remainder of his life, he would incur a number of illnesses, and his injured leg ulcers would ooze stinking pus. A fine specimen of a man indeed. On the church front, Henry's new and now pregnant wife was a devout Catholic, and she pleaded with the king to reinstate the monasteries. Henry was sick of wives meddling in his business, and he bluntly warned her to remember what happened to Anne Boleyn. Since splitting with the Pope, Henry had been hard at work determining the theology of his new Church of England. It kept many Catholic traditions, while on the other hand embracing some reformist ideas, such as requiring the use of a new Bible not in Latin, but in English. The cover of Henry's new Bible depicted the people appearing to worship a giant King Henry. And in the corner, there's some people being put to death, just for good measure. For any who opposed Henry's ideas, whether Catholic or Protestant, for any who rebelled against him, it would be off with their heads. In October 1537, Henry finally got what he had been waiting for. His wife Jane gave birth to a healthy boy. However, the triumph soon turned to tragedy, as Jane Seymour died days later from complications during the birth. Henry mourned Jane, the woman who had given him a son, for 2 years. Your Majesty,
German's Catholic or Protestant? I don't know, but I heard a report this year, which is truth. The Protestant and Catholic Church each lose 200,000 members here in Germany. The church is totally dying.
Not now! Can't you see I'm in
deservedly
mourning?
So, fully deserved, man.
That one.
Trash
the woman Thomas
fucking
Cromwell had
organization,
lined
dude.
up for Henry's next marriage was the sister of a powerful German duke. But all Henry cared about was that she was pretty as pie. And Thomas Cromwell promised that indeed she was. However,
Can you imagine you have to lay with him and his fucking leg is stinking of pus, man.
Your Majesty, let me introduce you to your fourth wife, Anne of Cleves. What's that smell? I think it's your legs, sire. No, it's Anne of Cleves. She's ugly. This is treason. What? Off with his head.
I want to get educated by you guys. What would you call a Christian that totally abandons all human-made institutions of church and only believes in God and Christ? Like, you're a Christian? Because I would imagine if I was a Christian, I would believe in Jesus and God, but I would fucking be like, fuck the church and all these humans that act they know shit. What would you tell? What is that? That's a Protestant? But Protestants still go to church, don't they? Agnostic? No. That's agnostic. You believe in God, but you don't believe in all that human shit.
The marriage and divorced her just
Not
6 months
atheist.
later.
What? You're so
And for
far
bringing
away.
Henry an
Do you
ugly,
even
stinky
understand
woman, along with additional charges of plotting treason, Thomas Cromwell
Non-denominal.
The very same day of
That guy
Cromwell's
seems to know what he's talking about.
Henry married his fifth wife, the
Non-denominal.
famed beauty Catherine Howard. She's believed to have only
Nicht
been
ausübender
17
Christ,
at the
non-practicing
time.
Christ.
Was 49,
But I'm still a
and like
Christ.
Anne of Cleves,
I just don't want to go
Catherine
to a
Howard
shitty church where you
didn't
rape
last
children.
long. You see, for some reason, she may not have been entirely satisfied with her 49-year-old fine specimen of a man, and it's possible she engaged in a number of extramarital affairs.
Did they all fuck
including
each
one
other,
with her
man? I swear to
cousin,
God.
Thomas
I mean, they had
Corbett.
not much to do,
When
man. There's
Henry
not much
found
going
out,
on.
He was devastated. How could she do this to me? But, sire, don't you have hundreds of mistresses? Shut up, Barry. That's not the point.
Methodist. That
Your
also
Majesty,
seems to make sense.
You're crying. I'm not crying. It's just that sometimes, when I get sad, water comes out of my eyes! For her treason, Catherine Howard met
Jesus.
the same fate as Anne Boleyn in 1542.
Yeah, agnostics don't believe in God and
we've
Jesus.
had
That was
divorced,
such a wrong
beheaded,
answer.
died, divorced, beheaded. Look out. Here comes survived. Henry married
How would
the
you still
daughter
marry
of a
that
royal
fuck, dude?
official, Catherine Parr, in 1543. And she appears to have been a good companion to Henry. She cared for the aging king, who by now was so heavy it took several men to winch him onto his horse. She acted as a mediator within the family and convinced the king to restore his two daughters to the line of succession. Their marriage did have one hiccup, however, when Catherine dared disagree with the king
Like
over
he
the
had a
subject of
choice.
theology.
Well,
It's
run?
a miracle because when the
Or
priest
don't
says the
make
words of
him love you?
institution, the bread turns into the body of Christ. Well, if you put the bread in a box for 3 months, is it a miracle that it turns moldy? Treason! You can't just call everything treason, Henry. The king called for her arrest, as serious charges were placed over her head. However, in the end, she told Henry that she had not been disagreeing with him, but simply learning from him. And so when the guards came to arrest her, the king told them to make like an Anne and cleave. Catherine Parr stayed with Henry right until the end. As he aged into his later years, in increasing pain and ill health, he grew ever more suspicious and moody.
They all
The
get
once
paranoid in the
generous,
end, huh?
promising young king was now feared by all around him. Sigmund, I don't have much longer. Hold me. Of course, sire. Do you have any final wishes? How about one last conquest in France? And so in 1544, Henry made for Calais. The pesky French had been supporting the Scottish in their ongoing
No,
wars.
I get what you're saying, but I'm like, again, if I was Christian, I wouldn't believe in priests and stuff. Like, good for them, but I will not go, because this is hypothetical. I will believe in my connection with Jesus and God. I will not believe in a priest and a building that they call church, you know?
England, and they also owed Henry some money. So the extremely unhealthy king personally led a siege against the French city of Boulogne.
That's why you're not Christian. That's such a fucking arrogant thing to say, that someone isn't Christian just because he believes in God and Jesus, but doesn't believe in the worldly human things that are created around
under
him.
the castle.
Saying that they're not Christians is
September,
ridiculous.
The French surrendered. A glorious victory for Henry. In actuality, the whole misadventure nearly bankrupted England, and they ended up giving Boulogne back to the French a few years later. But shh, don't tell Henry. He's having his moment. Finally, in 1547, a 55-year-old Henry, lapsing in and out of
55 is old for that,
consciousness,
and being so
passed
fat.
away. His son, Edward, succeeded him, but died just 5 years later. His daughter, Mary, briefly
But
took
Tommy,
the
the Pope
reins
and priests are
steered the
closer
country
to
back
God than you. They're
towards
also
the
closer
Pope.
to young
But then
boys
his
than me.
second daughter embraced reformist ideas and gradually transformed England into
The
a
gingers, man. That was when
Protestant
gingers led the
Henry's
fucking world,
desperation
man.
to marry Anne
They were
Boleyn
kind of
and his
fucking
resulting
crazy,
feud
man.
with the Pope
Probably
had
should
changed
make
the
them
course of
leaders.
English history and religion forever.
But goddamn.
Unfortunately, none of Henry's
Goddamn.
children had heirs, and when Elizabeth I died, Henry's lineage ended, with the House of Stuart replacing the House of Tudor. So then you might think, all
Ah, so
that
you watched the
effort,
Tudors?
a
It's
life
about this
filled with
guy?
so much frustration. Yet he never conquered France, he barely had a male heir, and his lineage died out. The egotistical man Henry grew sick and cruel, and then died.
So in the end, you're just
why
known
are
for
we all so
being a
fascinated
fuckboy,
with
man.
King Henry VIII.
So
Why not
interesting.
Henry II or IV?
It means
Without
non-denominal.
mentioning
Yeah, that
the
seems
many
to make
important things
sense.
his reign did achieve, one of his biggest goals was to go down in history. And you can put a big green check beside that
He
one.
went down.
Because everything he did
He
and
went
how
down
he
deep.
asserted his control and authority over everyone around him has come
In
to
the
be
Ten
viewed
Commandments,
as the
Christians are not
epitome
supposed to idolize
of the
anything other than
word
God.
king.
Is that
and also because of
true?
the wife killings? Yeah, definitely the wife
Before we
killings.
finish today's video, the 10 Commandments say you shouldn't end 10 Commandments. Wait, I can disprove Catholic belief right now. Now, where does that say that? Show me. You shall have no other God but me. Yeah. You shall not make yourself any idol nor bow. You shall not make yourself any idol nor bow down or worship it. Isn't that the Pope though? Number 9. You must not give false evidence. No. You should not have any idol other than me. Isn't that the Pope? No idols like statues. Well, you could. I mean, this is all open to interpretation, right? You should not commit murder. Yeah, that didn't go so well, man. You should not commit... Dude, no one listens to this shit. No Christian listens to this stuff, dude. I mean, how... Final question, because I have to actually quit the stream here. How did the human race came up with a pope? How was the pope made? Who came up with this idea first? Like, someone had to have the idea, let's make a pope, guys, so we control people a bit easier. Who? Someone must have started that shit. The Romans? Peter. Saint Peter. Peter the Apostle. Well, we have to watch a video about that guy in the future, man. I want to learn more about this. Because someone must have started this and then everybody thought it's